So moving from that framework and reminding ourselves that that is the core framework of the class, we're now at the point in strategy formulation that we think about competitive rivalry and dynamics. As I said before, we will also today think about a counterpoint to competitive rivalry and dynamics, but for the next several minutes, probably half hour, 40 minutes, we're going to talk a little bit about competitive rivalry and dynamics. The first topic that we're going to focus on, if you talk about competitive rivalry, is first let's define competition, and that's where we're going to go. All right, let's spend a little time thinking about competition. Competitors are the firms operating in the same markets or offering similar products or targeting similar customers as your firm. I guess that's kind of an intuitive and fairly obvious definition, but that, at least within the framework of the course and Porter's 5 forces, is where you start in your analysis. Again, if we think in terms of blue ocean strategies, we become less concerned about the markets that we already are in, or certainly companies that offer similar products or just target our existing customers or similar customers. We expand that definition a lot, but in the context of the analysis in the textbook, in Porter's 5 forces, and some of the other work that you're reading about, clearly you start from the point of view of identifying your competitors. Competitive rivalry is the ongoing set of competitive actions and responses that competitors take when they deal with one another, and basically, again, in the context of a more competitively oriented strategic analysis, it's all about getting a more advantageous market position. Again, focused very much in the red oceans, about a market position within markets where we're basically fighting for territory, and again with the idea that in oceans are red because of the blood of battles for territory. In effect, that's what competitive rivalry is all about. Competitive behavior is the competitive actions and competitive responses you take to build or defend your competitive advantages and improve your market position. So think of rivalry as the responses that you take to get an advantageous position, and then behavior is really more defensive. It's what you do to build your position and defend it against competition. There are different types of competition. First, there's multi-market competition. This is where firms compete against one another in several product or geographic markets. This can be within a country, within a region, internationally. It can be amongst multiple geographies, multiple countries, multiple continents in terms of geographic markets. It can also be in terms of product markets. So firms can compete in one or more product segments. Again, I've talked about this previously with my company. MassMutual does both of these. We are an international company, so we have a presence in Asia, we have a presence in Europe, we have a presence in the United States. So we clearly compete in multiple geographic markets, but we also compete in multiple financial services product segments. So we provide life insurance, we provide retail mutual fund products through Oppenheimer funds, we offer institutional asset management products through Baring Asset Management and Babson Asset Management, and we offer retirement products, long-term care products, and a range of other products also out of MassMutual. Competitive dynamics, in terms of the way that you look at competition, is the total set of actions and responses that all firms competing with the market, whether it's a single market or multi-market, that they all take with respect to one another. So if you go back to the actions that I described in the previous slide, these are the sort of collective actions taken by all of the market participants. Here is a chart from the book that does a sort of reasonably good job of describing that process, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but it sort of maps out the process from competitors who then engage in competitive rivalry, and then the purple box to the lower level describes the competitive dynamics, and then in terms of competitive rivalry, there may be a couple of things that happen. Why do you do it? It's to gain advantageous business or market position. And how do you do it? Either through competitive actions or competitive responses, which become the source of the competitive dynamics. Let's now talk a little bit about the kinds of things you need to do in terms of preparing a competitive analysis. This slide is lifted right from the book and really is, again, a roadmap. And one of the reasons I like the text in general is if you're a visual person, you should be able to use some of these maps to be able to understand how the process comes together in each of the sub-processes. This map here shows the competitive analysis process, which I'm going to be talking about for the next few minutes. Kind of shows you from competitive analysis and the concepts of market commonality and resource similarity through the drivers of competitive behavior to sort of the actual behaviors, interfirm rivalry and likelihood of response, and then the outcomes of competition, and then you'll get your feedback, and then it'll come back into your competitive analysis. Let's start out by talking a little bit about what are market commonality and resource similarity. Market commonality is when each industry is composed of various markets and segments, and again, using financial services, which I've referred to before, there are multiple markets and segments. I'm not going to keep repeating, but the notion of life insurance, mutual funds, etc. There's a lot of markets, a lot of segments within those markets. Resource similarity is the extent to which firms within markets or between markets have tangible or intangible resources that are comparable to their competitors. So FedEx and UPS have a lot of the same core resources. They have the same or similar logistics tools. They use aircraft, they use vehicles, processing plants, distribution capabilities, and so their focus tends to be on efficient operations and cost reduction, and very similar focus. And so that's an example of resource similarity amongst companies. To what extent are firms competitors? Well, competitor equals firms that have both high market commonality and high resource similarity. Dell and HP are examples of direct competitors. They are in similar markets. That is, they are in the PC manufacturing space and certain other technology equipment, and they use many of the same resources, tangible and intangible, to produce their products. That makes them direct competitors. Here's I think a very helpful chart that kind of shows how much firms may or may not be competitors. If you look at the rectangle, that's a portfolio of resources, and the other is another portfolio of resources, and the overlap is to the extent that the firms have common or uncommon either resource similarities or market similarities. So you can look at this chart, and visually it represents what happens when you say have up in the upper left high resource similarities. High market commonality, yet low resource similarity. So there's an overlap, but not a huge one. When you have high and high, as you can see over in number 1, the yellow box, then they're truly as direct a competitor as you can get. Their boxes almost overlap one another completely. This chart may be another, again, visual way to think about how market commonality and resource similarity come together, and as you think about competitive analysis, for example, if you're doing a competitive analysis in your team project analysis, you might want to use something like this to illustrate the degree to which there is direct competition.